So my fellow traders, I hope you are enjoying your journey so far and also enjoying spotting candlesticks in charts. So in this particular video, we'll cover a very intuitive and interesting candlestick type which is referred to as Doji. Doji meaning indecisiveness. In case of a Doji candle, we would have a very small or negligible body of the candle, but we will have huge or long shadows in the candle. The small body implying that the open price and the close price is almost the same, or there is a negligible difference between the open and the close price. And the huge shadows implying that there is indecisiveness in the market. So if you have a candle which has a small body and huge upper and lower shadows, it would mean that the buyers did try to take the price higher, but the sellers dominated and tried to take the price lower, thereby forming huge shadows, but the stock price closed at the same level where it had opened in the given session. These Doji candles are intuitive in the sense that these represent the indecisiveness between the buyers and sellers. They are still fighting amongst themselves to determine whether it is the bulls who will take control or whether it's the bears who will take control. And similar to the other candles that we have discussed so far, these candles also need to be looked at in conjunction with the overall trend in which the stock price is moving. So let's look at the Doji candle and the variations in the Doji candle and try to understand what is the meaning that these candles convey. So as you can see on my screen, Doji candles are those in which the open and close prices are almost at the same level. That is why you have a very small body of the candle, as you can see, and these candles typically have a long shadow either on the both sides or on the single side, the lower side or the higher side. When looked at in isolation, these candles will convey indecisiveness between the buyers and sellers. But wait, we want to understand the trend and we want to understand the market psychology. So these Doji candles, whenever spotted, has to be looked at along with the overall trend or the overall price action movement in the given stock. There are typically three variations of the Doji candle. A normal Doji candle which has a small body and a long upper wick and a lower wick. A gravestone Doji candle which has a small body again but a long upper wick, and a dragonfly Doji which has a small body but a long lower wick. So let's try to understand these candles further and the meaning that these candles try to convey. As you can see on my screen, I have highlighted a few candles which are typically Doji candles. Doji candles are those which have a small body and huge shadows, and all these candles which I have marked in this particular example, they are all Doji candles, though of different variations. But broadly speaking, Doji candles are the ones which have a small body and long shadows. Talking about your gravestone Doji and your dragonfly Doji, as the name suggests, dragonfly, it's ready to fly, which means the candle has a very small body, as you can see here, with a very long lower shadow or lower wick. That means that the stock was in a given downtrend. The sellers did try to push the price further down, but the buyers were able to fight back the sellers and they were able to manage the close almost at the same level where the stock price opened. This would typically indicate that the downtrend may pause and the uptrend may resume. On the contrary, a gravestone Doji is one where we have a very long upper shadow but a negligible lower shadow. And this is typically seen when the stock is in an uptrend. So as you can see, the stock was in a visible uptrend, and then we spotted a gravestone Doji candle, which means the buyers did try to take the price high, but the sellers were able to dominate the buyers and overpower them, and they were able to manage the close at the same level where the stock price opened, thereby forming a long upper shadow. This typically means that the uptrend may pause and the downtrend may soon kick in. And that is what we saw. After the gravestone's Doji was spotted, the stock entered into a correction phase. So let's try to spot these candles in some chart examples that I have on my screen. As you can see, I have the chart of Britannia on a weekly time frame. The stock was in a visible uptrend, with a lot of green candles and good volumes, and that is where we spot a doji candle. As we know, doji means indecisiveness, which means that the buyers and sellers are not able to decide which way they would be able to drive the prices. And this is typically a phase where we should always be cautious. We should wait for a clearer picture before we take a trade. And as we saw, the stock price entered into a consolidation phase followed by a correction phase. So if I am an investor who has holdings in Britannia, I may want to identify these levels where I would want to book out my position because there is a clear indecisiveness in the market. And once the picture is clear, I may want to re-enter into the trade. Taking another example, I have on my screen the chart of Ajanta Pharma on a weekly time frame. As we can see, the stock was in a visible uptrend, which is where we spotted the first doji candle, indicative of the fact that this uptrend may pause due to the indecisiveness between the buyers and sellers. And soon after this doji candle was spotted, we were able to spot a gravestone doji candle, which means that the long upper shadow was visible in the doji candle. This is where we know that the sellers are trying to overpower the buyers, and this is where I may want to exit my long positions and re-enter into that at lower levels, thereby booking out profits and reducing my cost of holding. And as expected, the stock price started going down and the stock entered into a consolidation and correction phase. And the final example I have on my screen is that of Grasim Industries chart on a weekly time frame. So as we can see, the stock was in a visible downtrend and we spotted a dragonfly doji candle being formed here, which means that the sellers were trying to overpower the buyers continuously and they were trying to take the prices down. But the buyers came in with force and they were able to manage the close price way above the low price point for that period, and the open and close price were almost the same. This is an indication that the downtrend or the correction phase may temporarily pause and it may be followed by an uptrend. And as we see, this particular downtrend was paused, the stock entered into a consolidation phase followed by an up move in the stock price. So doji candles are extremely intuitive in nature, and whenever you spot doji candles on a higher time frame chart, never ignore those, because these candles convey the indecisiveness in the market and you need to wait for a clearer picture before you take your trades and before you enter into any position. Always remember, when you are a beginner in the stock market, it is not important that you start making profits right from the day you start trading or investing. You need to first define yourself whether a particular entry is a trading entry or an investing entry, and you need to define your stop losses and targets. And in the initial few months to initial few years, as long as you are able to sustain and preserve your capital or sustain minimal losses, you are doing good. The definition of being successful in the stock market for the initial period is that your capital is preserved and your capital is not eroded. If you start taking irrational trades and if you jump into taking trades, that is definitely not going to give you success in the long run. It may be a coincidence that you get a good P&L flow from whatever trading decisions you take, but eventually you need to look at the bigger picture and you need to sustain in the long run, because market has different phases, which we will be covering in the next series, where we talk about Dow theory and we talk about the various phases of market. But when you look at things in totality, with the technical indicators and the intuitive information you get from candlesticks, you will definitely be able to ace your trading and investing journey. So I hope you are able to find these series informative and you are able to now make more sense out of these candles and the meanings these candles convey. So folks, start looking at candlestick charts and start spotting these candles and start seeing how the chart or how the price action behaved once these candle formations were spotted. You can feel free to put in your doubts in the comments section and we will be more than happy to clarify any and every doubt that you have. Thank you and good luck.